Hello. In this lecture, we're going to be looking at updating a resource and also sharing a form between the create and edit. So we've already gone through and done the create, read, and delete of CRUD. And so next thing, to finish out that CRUD section, we just need to look at update. So updating is a little bit more involved, which is why I wanted to dedicate a lecture to it alone. So, because there's some tweaking we'll have to do with create to make sure things can work together nicely. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and review what we have so far. So if I switch over to our browser, we have the ability to create, we can validate, we can look at the detail of one particular friend, and then we can delete with a confirmation. So those are the types of things that we've created so far. So now we want to go ahead and add the edit functionality to a friend. So in order to do so, I'm going to create another column in our table for edit. So let me go ahead and do that in the index. Yeah, I'm just going to add another column. And for this, I'm going to use edit. So friends edit. And if I go back and review the routes, we have edit right here. So it's a get request to the friends. We need to designate a friend ID, edit, route, path, and that'll be in the friends controller using the edit action. So let's go ahead and get that going. So friends edit, we need to give it an ID so we know which friend to edit. So let me see if that pulled up fine. It did. It does nothing because we have not done anything with it yet. So we can go back to our controller. And this is getting to be a pattern now. So anytime we need to manipulate one, so far we've deleted one and showed one, we need to look up that ID, right? So let's go ahead and pull that up. Where's that? Right here. So we're going to pull that up. Whoops. Friend, find ID, and then we're going to return the view for friends edit, and then we'll pass along this friend so we know which one to edit. Whoops. All right, so now if I go, so undefined variable friend, okay, we don't even have a view yet, so I just wanted to see what the error message would say. So it doesn't say anything like you're missing a view, but still there's something wrong. But I can continue to just work my way through what we need to do. So we need to find the friend, we need to return the edit view with friend defined. Actually, I do need to assign it to a variable. That's better. Because I used it, but I didn't assign it. So let's see what kind of error message we get now. All right, so view edit friend not found. So that is a better error message. So kind of just working through error messages you might see just in case. So with that understanding that we need a view, let's go create that. Edit. And make sure that works. So it looks like that works. And so now we have a choice, because when we're dealing with edit, it's pretty much going to look just like the create form, except the values will be populated, and then you can go ahead and obviously edit the data if you want, and then you want to actually update a friend versus storing a friend. So very, very similar to the create, except for we're tweaking a few things. So what I'm going to do for now is go ahead and just copy the form out of the create template, paste it into the edit template, and just tweak a few things, and just to get that to work. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to pull up this, copy it like straight up, because I just want to get it to work for now. And so let's see what types of things we need to modify. Well, we're not making a friend. We want to edit a friend. So little things like that. The form is going to post to not store, but update. And we also need to update our method. Kind of like we did for delete. We changed it to delete. And then for updates, we want to use the put method, because that's the proper HTTP verb for updating. What else? Oh, whenever we want to populate the value, we want to make sure it's actually coming from friend. Because if you remember in the controller, we actually load a friend and we send that friend over. So we have the data, we have the object with the data in it. So why not just use that to populate our values here? And oops. See if I did that right. And let's see, instead of store friend, update friend. And cancel stays the same. Okay, let's take a look at that and see if that's going to work. So edit. All right, missing required parameter. Oh, we need to give it an ID, because we're actually updating. The server needs to know which friend we are updating. So up here in our route, ID requires that we send it an ID, so it knows which one to update. All right, let's try that again. Okay, cool. That's looking good. So we have our data being populated. Is the age right? Martin 18. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. So I guess I could confirm to see if Jack Doe is 100. Yep. So it selected the right one in the drop down. So that's looking good. If I take a value out and try to update, let's see if the validation works. Oh, actually, we haven't even handled that yet. So I think we're good for now. So we want to cancel that. Yeah, we just got the form to work, right? So now we need to handle the update action. Because remember, in the form here, we're submitting to friends update. So we need to go handle that in the controller. Right now it's just blank, and that's why it wasn't doing anything. So again, same idea here. We're literally gonna copy the store controller, which has the validate, and then we're gonna tweak what that looks like. So we still want to do validation. This time we're going to be doing an update instead of a create. And we're going to redirect back to index, success, friend, and then change the message to updated successfully. Okay. Let's see if that works for us. First, let's just a successful update without doing anything. Let's see if we get redirected. Nope. So model update. Let's see. Non-static method update should not be called statically. Oh, we need to find it first. So we're going to find it and then we'll update it. Yep, little thing. So let's try this again. So the round trip is working. Let's see what an actual edit does. Updated age. 25, that's looking good. What about validations? So last field is required, so that works. First name required, that works. Take out both. Both are required. So that's looking good. So we have a functional. Actually, I didn't test changing the name. So let's just. Okay, that looks like it's working. So, and validation is working. So that's looking great. I think what I want to do now, though, is we do have some duplication, which is okay. I mean, if you're trying to get things to work, it's okay to get it to work first, and then you come back and you can refactor, make it faster, clean things up. But getting it to work first is actually a huge success in the when you're iterating through development. It's okay to get it to work in an ugly fashion as long as you do come back around and clean things up, refactor, and get it to work in a refactored state as well. So I think we're in that place now where we have it working and we can refactor. So one thing I want to do first, there's a couple places, right? There's the form. So we have our create form and our edit form. That both are basically copies of each other. And then there's also in the controller, the validation section is just like a flat out copy as well. So let's focus on the form first. So what I'm going to do is actually create a new file. We'll call it form, like that. And I want to take the section. The only section that's not changing is this from here to there. So everywhere, that's pretty much the shared section of the, no, it's actually to there. Actually, it's just that, isn't it? Because the rest of it's the exact same. So I'm actually going to cut that and put that into form. I mean, that's the bare bones what's being shared. Right? And then what I want to do is go into here, and then we can use this at. there's this directive helper that we can use called include. And we want to use our friend's form because that's the name of the file, right? So, oops, not a semicolon. That's the name of the file. Right here we have the because it's going to look in the friend or the views directory, and so the friends is the reference to the directory, and then form is the reference to the file name. Okay. That probably will blow up for some reason or another, but let's go and actually complete this out. Let's take this, go to create, replace this as well. All right, let's just see what happens, because who knows what I'm going to see. All right, I can go to create. All right, undefined variable friend. All right, we'll come back to that. What about edit? Edit's looking good. Can I still update? Yeah. Can I still have validations? Yeah. Can I still update the value? It looks like updating is working great, but create not so good. So let's go back and look at what's happening here. So undefined variable friend, there's that error message again. So we're getting that error message. And so it says friend is undefined. All right, well, let's go check it out. So within the form, since we copied this from the edit, we have this friend variable that we're now referencing in both create and edit. And if you remember from before, we were in the create form, we were using the old. So like if you tried to submit and then we use the old method to repopulate the value, well, we took that out. So that's bombing, number one. And then number two, we have the create form has no idea what this friend variable is. Because in the controller, remember in the edit, we actually look up the friend and we pass that over to the template. So that's how the edit form has the variable, because we defined it here. So we can get around that if we go to the create here. Let's see. No, create, where are you? Yeah, right here. So we can get around that by doing something. We're not editing or anything in a friend. We're creating a brand new one. So we can just create like an empty one. And then pass that along. So that should fulfill the friend requirement because it said it was missing that variable. So let's go back and try that out. Let's refresh. That's looking good. Do validations work? Yep. Does a successful creation still work? Hello world, yes, that works. What about updating? What about changing something? So goodbye. Oh, editing, that's fine. It's the creation validation. Yeah, so I'm losing my values again. So if this was a much larger form and you were filling out the form and you went to try to save it and you lost everything, like that would be super annoying. So we lost that ability. So we're gonna have to go back and figure that out in our form, how to handle that. But fortunately, we can use that old method trick again, but we can combine the technique of using old in addition to repopulating the value with friend, which we take advantage of in the edit form. So what we can do is we can use that old method again, and we can, just like we did on the using create, except for if it's not there, old takes a second argument as a fallback. That's a cool trick. All right. So before we shared the form, we just did old first name and that repopulated it on create, which is cool. Well, if I'm sharing between edit and create, old works well for create, but populating the value from the object is what works for edit, because there's an actual friend we are editing. But old takes this second parameter and says, hey, if I can't retrieve the first name from the old form submission, go ahead and just repopulate it with whatever's in the friend object, and that'll work for edit. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to update this. Oops. And then for the repopulation here, this one's a little tricky because we want to see if age option is either in the friend object or it's equal to the old value, right? And so the way I'm going to do that is, I could write out this long, let's see, age option equals old age. I could do that, right? So age option equals friend age or age option equals old age. But there's a little handy, I want to shorten that up, honestly, because that condition is just too long. And you can simplify it just by checking to see there's an inArray built-in function into PHP, and you just want to see if the age option is in. I'm going to create just a literal array right here. And so that's just it's basically doing the same thing as that OR comparison we were doing earlier, just in a more kind of a short and sweet fashion. So it's the inArray function just says, check to see if this age option is in this array. And the two values in the array are friend age and old age. So it's just kind of a quick way to check for like OR equality. All right, so let's pull up our form and see if we get our repopulation back. And it looks like we did. Take this out, set the age, store friend, and we're not losing our values. So that's awesome. Let's go see if that works over on the edit side. We don't want to lose this functionality. So last name's blank, last name required. Looking good. Let's make sure they still work as well. So that looks good. Create another friend. Another friend. Awesome, awesome. This has come together pretty nicely. So we're now sharing the form. Next thing we need to do is we need to be able to handle the validate, which I basically, again, just copied and pasted over here. So what I'm going to do is just create a function, a private function down here. take the request and copy this down here. And the only thing this needs to do is just return that, right? That'll return the object that I need to use to populate my friend, and also let us know whether we're valid or not. So I'm just going to return that out and then basically replace this with the function call. Then I can get rid of this. And where else do I use it? Up here. So I can get rid of this. Whoops. Call our function. Oh, I need to pass in a request, don't I? Yep, I do. So that way we're relying on this function. If anything changes with validation, we just change it in one spot. So we don't have to copy it back and forth between the update and the store. Awesome. So that's looking tight. That's looking tight. Let's make sure things still work, yo. Great. That still works. That still works. Awesome. That's looking good. I think the last thing I want to do for this time is, there are times when we create, when we show or edit, we're referencing a specific friend, right? And so if I show detail, well, let's say you copy this URL, hand it over to a buddy, and so they can come edit it if they have permissions. But let's say that person gets deleted. Or let's say there was a person at 200 that got deleted, right? Well, if they were ever deleted, right, we get this we want to be able to see this 404 not found. We don't want to see an error message like, here, let me show it like here, for example. If we're trying to edit someone at 300, we're going to get this error message saying, trying to get property of ID of a non-object. So that's something you would see if this friend at 300 doesn't exist, and that's true. So what was the difference between this one and the other one? We got a 404, and this one we got this big ugly error message. So why the difference there? Well, let me show you why. I snuck in this call here. Let me make sure I go to the right spot. So when we show a friend, notice I'm using this find or fail. And when I edit, I just do a find. Okay. See the difference there? Find or fail versus find. So if you just do a find and the friend at that ID doesn't exist, you're going to get this big blow up error page. If you do a find or fail, Laravel's smart enough to use that and say, oh, if the friend at that ID doesn't exist, I'm going to give them a nice 404, because that's technically what it is. There's no friend there. So 404, what that means, if we look that up as well, for HTTP status code, what that means is just not found. And that's true. It's a 404, not found. So that friend at that if you genericize it, so the resource at that ID is just not there. And so that's actually a perfect result. So what I want is I want the edit to also use find or fail. So now if I hit refresh, trying to look up friend at ID 300 and refresh, I get a 404, and that's perfect. That's exactly what you want. And that's an indicator that to the user, like they're in the wrong spot. It's not a valid URL anymore. So cool. So I guess I might add that to my notes. So handling resources that don't exist. So that'd be kind of, I guess, a way that we finished up the lecture. So cool. So I guess just in summary, we were able to update a resource, share a form. We also cleaned up the validation function, so that's in one spot. So we only have to make validation changes in one spot. And then that's shared with the store and the update. And then also handling resources that don't exist. Instead of some big error message, we can get a nice 404, which has real meaning in the web world. So cool. Well, that's it for our full CRUD, create, read, update, delete, for building out the basics of a web architecture application, where we have controllers, we have actions, we have RESTful, resourceful routes, we have views and templates that for all those subsections, and now we're starting to build a foundation for a web application to grow and get a lot bigger. So that's going to enable us to continue to build on top of this and add some more functionality in the near future. So until then, have a good one.